What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff, and on today's show, Canada can't win the Stanley Cup or the Olympic gold medal in men's or women's hockey. Plus, UNLV rebounded with a blowout win over Air Force and could get a top 4 seed in the Mountain West tournament. The United States dominated Canada in the gold medal game. Canada was lucky just to get to overtime. That's how good the Americans were. Here we go. A 2-1 win in overtime for the United States for just the third time ever the U.S. wins the gold medal in hockey. And Jack Hughes is the best, right? We're going to ignore the penalty that he took at the end of the third period that could have lost the game to the United States. But this guy gets his teeth broken. 2 of his teeth just broken. There's blood in his mouth after the game still because of a high stick he takes in the third period. And then he scores the game-winning goal in overtime. And better than all of that, when he does his post-game interview on NBC, says, "We wanted to go through Canada and win gold." Goddamn right, Jack Hughes. It would have been funny. It would have been very funny if Canada had lost one of the previous games and gotten knocked out, right? That would have been hilarious. But this is how it should have happened. This is how the United States should have won gold against Canada in the gold medal game. In overtime makes it pretty sweet as well. Now, there's a lot of things from this game, but I want to start with a complaint because Connor McDavid won the tournament MVP, and Connor McDavid was the best overall player throughout the tournament, but he did it on a losing team. He already did that in the Stanley Cup, and more offensive than all of that, Mark Lazarus of The Athletic tweeted out that the voting for MVP was due at the end of the first period of the gold medal game. That's wild, right? Like, you're choosing awards before the game and the tournament are done. And I know there were some good games. The United States and Canada both had to win overtime games to get to the final, right? There were some close games with other countries. But this tournament, the Olympic men's hockey tournament, was about one game. The United States and Canada for the gold medal. That's it. That is what this tournament was about. That's why this tournament existed. That is why the NHL agreed to send NHL players back to the Olympics. It was for this game and nothing else. Canada beating France by like 10 goals in the group stage, completely irrelevant, right? Pierre-Edouard Bellemare is the best player on France, right? That does not matter. Anything Connor McDavid did in that game does not matter because this tournament existed for that game. And that game didn't factor into the voting for MVP because they had to turn those in at the end of the first period. Just insane that would be the choice here. And by the way, I don't know if they deserve a shout out because they took it away from us, but like, yes, NHL, we want NHL players in the Olympics. I am fully aware. We got a broken leg in LA. Sidney Crosby, I don't think they said what his injury actually was, but he couldn't play in the gold medal game. Like, I know there's some risk, but this is worth the risk. I know LA and Pittsburgh may have gotten screwed a little bit out of this, but this is worth the risk. Send the NHL players to the Olympic events for any sports. Right? If there is an Olympic event, send them. Baseball, similar with the World Baseball Classic, let them go play. What is this stupid insurance crap where like Carlos Correa and Francisco Lindor can't play for Puerto Rico because of it? Who can't? Let them play. It is worth it. Yes, a team owner for a team in the United States is not going to be happy if their player breaks their leg, but it's worth it. I'm telling you, it's worth it because it was awesome. Now, there's a couple of things. I think the 2 biggest stories from this one, outside of the United States beating Canada and it being hilarious, but the first one is the amount of whining Canada is doing. It's great. Nathan McKinnon had a funny quote that we're going to get to, but Canada is just crying because they lost this game and lost the gold medal and lost the United States. I actually think they would have taken it a lot better had they lost to a different country than the United States in the gold medal game. But the other part of this is the 3-on-3 factor, right? Third period ends and people realize, oh, the gold medal is going to be decided 3-on-3 instead of normal at 5-on-5, right? The sport gets changed, the sport gets bastardized with 3-on-3 hockey. But the reason that happens, it's all because hockey is done. If you have listened to me before, you have heard me say hockey is dumb plenty of times. It is an affectionate term for the sport of hockey, right? But the gold medal game being decided by 3-on-3 is a real life consequence of the sport being dumb, right? Because why does 3-on-3 exist? Why do we play 3-on-3 overtime in the NHL regular season and in the Olympics? It's because hockey games can go on for too long without a goal, right? And playing 3-on-3 opens up more space and more goals, right? This was a great game, a great example of hockey is dumb. Canada was so much better at controlling the game, creating shots, creating chances than the United States. The shots were 41-26. Canada had 9 more shots from the slot. Shout out to Jay Fresh Hockey for that stat. But like Canada was better than the United States at hockey in this game. But hockey is dumb. And we see this all the time. One team can dominate and it not show up on the scoreboard, just like in this one. Despite Canada's dominance, the game was tied 1-1 after they played for 60 minutes at 5-on-5, right? And so that happens enough in hockey that the sport will go to a 3-on-3 overtime, right? Like that's what happens in this sport. There's an understanding that the sport, like it has a flaw, right? I mean, all sports have a flaw. Not everything is perfect in pretty much any of our sports, but like a flaw of hockey is that you might not score for a long period of time. So how the hell do we figure out how to end this game? And I know you could say, well, you could at least play the first overtime at 5-on-5. But sure, whatever. But you got to draw the line somewhere because what if we just keep playing forever, right? The NHL doesn't do 3-on-3 in the playoffs. If you watch NHL playoff hockey, there are plenty of overtime games that kind of suck. Like the drama and tension is high, but there are plenty of overtime NHL playoff games where guys are too tired, they don't want to make a mistake, and nothing happens. Right? That happens regularly in the NHL playoffs. So the sport's not perfect. Obviously, none of our sports are. It has a flaw, and this just happens to be one of them, which means, okay, how do we decide the game? Well, we have to do something different, and it's 3-on-3, right? That's what it is. Now, on the whining Canadians, Nathan MacKinnon gave one of the funniest quotes. Joshua Clipperton tweeted this out, but MacKinnon after the game said, "You be the judge of who was the better team today." And this is what amazes me. People play this sport every day of their lives. They watch this sport. They consume this sport somehow, some way, all the time, every day of their lives, every single year. And they don't realize that hockey is dumb. They don't realize that just because you create more chances and more shots, it doesn't mean you're always going to win the game. Basketball is the more pure sport in that regard, right? Like it's really, really hard to, be the better team in a game and lose in basketball, right? Kind of the only way it happens is if the other team just drills a whole bunch of threes. But generally speaking, if you dominate a basketball game the way Canada dominated this game against the United States, you're going to win the game, and you're going to win the game by a lot, right? But hockey is dumb in that Canada can play that well. I mean, the first period was pretty even, but the second and third periods, Canada beat the hell out of the United States. And they only scored 1 goal, and it tied the game, and that was all they got. And it amazes me that we have so many people that play and watch this sport that don't realize it. Like Nathan MacKinnon knows this. Nathan MacKinnon's played in plenty of hockey games where his team was better and lost, or his team was worse and won, right? Like, that's what it is. Now, I do think there's an important stat here because ultimately in hockey, it's about scoring. It's not about creating shots and creating all these chances. But Canada, for the entire tournament, not just this game, may have been dominating shots and dominating chances and all of that. But if you take the 3 games in the bracket stage, so once we got out of group play and into the games that really mattered, the bracket stage, they played 3 games. Canada led for a total of 6 minutes and 5 seconds in those 3 games. That is it. The supposed best team in the world at this only led across 3 games for 6 minutes and 5 seconds, which again included 0 minutes and 0 seconds against the United States. They were playing from behind all of the time. They were not dominating the scoreboard. Hockey is dumb, and Canada in these Olympics is a perfect example. Oh, by the way, Nathan MacKinnon missed a wide open net in the third period that would have given Canada the lead. Score the goal. If you're the better team and you have a great opportunity, a wide open net, don't miss the net entirely. Also, I thoroughly enjoyed that in overtime at 3-on-3, the United States scored the game-winning goal when Connor McDavid, Cale Makar, and Nathan MacKinnon were all on the ice. The 3 best Canada has to offer and they still lose. It was spectacular. It was so wonderful. Now, a couple of random things. First off, I want to know who got Jack Hughes's helmet. If you go back and watch the celebration right after he scored, he just chucks his helmet into the crowd. Right, that thing was gone. I want to know who has it, because that is an elite souvenir to get. Right, like that's up there with catching a home run ball. Right, an important home run ball is you got a guy's helmet, the guy who scored the game-winning goal to win the gold medal in the Olympics. You got his how the hell did you even get his helmet? Oh, he threw it in the crowd. Right, that is an incredible souvenir to have. So I want to know that. Second, if you're not a soccer fan, you might not know this term, but Sidney Crosby was a full kit wanker. So Crosby got hurt and did not play in the gold medal game, right? And despite that, when they did the medal ceremony to come out and give Canada their silver medals and give the United States their gold medals, Sidney Crosby walks out in full uniform, pads and everything, right? Only thing he didn't have on was a helmet. So we got to see his perfect hair, no sweat whatsoever. What are you doing? Put on a little tracksuit. You don't have to put, he got fully dressed to go out and get his silver medal. And I also thoroughly enjoyed the stuffed animals. It is one of the funniest things because it doesn't fit the sport of hockey. So if you didn't see it in the Olympics, right, medalists get a stuffed animal of the like Olympic mascot. There's a different Olympic mascot for every Olympic Games. And it's so funny because the team that loses the gold medal game in hockey, you win the silver medal, right? And they give them their medals first, but then they hand them these little stuffed animals. So it happened to both Canada's men's and women's team, where they're sitting there after losing to the one country they don't want to lose to in the gold medal game, and they're given these little stuffed animals to deal with. It's absolutely hilarious. And one of the things I find fascinating about the Olympics and about different sports is you have so many sports in the Olympics where finishing second or third is awesome. Finishing second or third is like, oh my God, you got a silver medal, you got a bronze medal. It's the only major competition in sports, at least that I can think of, where finishing second or third is like applauded, right? Imagine the New England Patriots right now. Are they thrilled that they finished second in the NFL this season? I mean, they might be like, oh, it's a great season, we were supposed to be here, but you're not going to look back and be like, oh yeah, we got the silver medal. But we do that in the Olympics, which I do think some of it is like team sport versus individual sport makes that a different comparison there. But nobody's super, like Arina Sabalenka's not super excited that she finished second at the Australian Open. She got her little plate, but she wasn't as excited as a lot of athletes are to finish second in the silver medal or in an Olympic event. And then we see in a team event, we see in hockey, Canada's devastated to get the silver medal. I mean, it's like the worst day of their lives to get the silver medal. I just find that fascinating because we had Eileen Gu, who's the Chinese skier, who's actually American, but I read that China paid her, which elite move by China, by the way, just go buy Olympians. But she's like the best women's freestyle skier ever, something like that. And she won like a ton of medals. She won some golds, but she won 2 silver medals at the Olympics. And she got asked the question, like, is this 2 silver medals won or 2 gold medals lost? Like, hey, you didn't win. And like she scoffed at the question. A lot of people like made fun of the reporter for asking that. But this is the only place where, oh, we finished second. This is great. That's the only place this exists. In other sports, finishing second is a disaster. But in the Olympics, where it's generally viewed as like, oh, cool, we finished second. So not in hockey, though. That is not how Canada feels today. Last things on the Olympics, because there's just a few other random things that I want to mention. First off, love Alyssa Liu, the U.S. figure skater who won gold. She's great. The thing I love the most, though, is her hair. If you haven't seen her, she's got the stripes in her hair. I think if you're a figure skater, right, this is a sport that is all about, like, you are performing by yourself. It's very much about the aesthetic. It's very much about how you're seen and how you're dressed and everything. I think it should be like highly encouraged, if not required, to have like wild hair or something fun, right? Some of the outfits are fun. The one guy was dressed as a minion. I don't know what country he was from, but something just like outlandishly fun. Her hair's incredible. that's exactly the sport where you should have that type of hair. It's a great job, right? If you did it like in hockey or bobsled or whatever, or your hair's covered by helmets and all that, but in figure skating, perfect. I also won't forget Lindsey Vonn, who tore her ACL before the Olympics and then competed anyway and just shattered her leg, right? Unbelievably brutal. But like, to me, that's what the Olympics are, right? Not a brutal injury, but like, that's how important it is. I love the Olympics. If I at any point had any chance to compete, it would be the number one priority, right? That's the Olympics. And Lindsey Vonn being like, I don't have an ACL, cool. I'm still skiing until my legs don't work anymore. That's the Olympics. And then the wildest stat of the Olympics is the Netherlands. If you're unaware, the Netherlands is a speed skating powerhouse. But the Netherlands, all time at the Winter Olympics, have won 167 medals. 162 of them are in the sport of speed skating. They have just 5 medals in any other sport at the Winter Olympics, but they have 162 in speed skating. Now, first off, there are a ton of speed skating medals. It's kind of like swimming at those Summer Olympics. You're like, there's too many events. Like, Michael Phelps is the most decorated Olympian. Well, yeah, he can win 10 every time. So like, there's too many speed skating events, but they are just so dominant, this sport, that they win all those medals and nothing else, right? Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic tweeted out, like, put a hockey stick in some of their hands. Because if you have a country that's that good at developing speed skaters, they got to be able to put together a competent hockey team, right? And like, there's not that many competent countries at hockey. I know they're not letting one of them play in Russia, but like, the United States and Canada are significantly better than everybody else. And some of these, Sweden's solid, right? But like, you just have to get a certain baseline of competence, and you'll be in the Olympics every year for hockey, and you'll be like the 4th or 5th best country, depending on who they let in. It's great. So I enjoy the Olympics. Sad that it's over. Like, the Golden Knights season comes back. They play on Wednesday, it is. Like, it's good that the Golden Knights are back. NHL hockey is fun. It's like, I enjoy watching it, but it's also going to be like, oh, well, they're not playing for a gold medal, so this isn't quite as fun.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot 2-story arena designed to look like a worn, torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Technically Correct is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Battle Blast is the perfect spot for your next event, whether it is your birthday party, a kid's birthday party, a corporate event, a Little League season just ended, and you need to find a place to take all the kids for an end-of-year party. Battle Blast Las Vegas is the place to go. They're at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Battle Blast Las Vegas, your next stop for fun in Vegas. The Raiders, by the way, going to have a short Bischoff's Briefs today. The Raiders have a new offensive line coach, Rick Dennison. He was with Clint Kubiak the last 2 seasons at New Orleans and Seattle, different places, but is coaching with Kubiak at both spots. Interesting, though, he has not been an O-line coach since 2020 in Minnesota. His last few roles have been like he's the senior offensive advisor or senior offensive assistant, so he hasn't been a position coach for a few years. This is from the front office decision-making. This is the position that I think is most interesting to see what they do, because we know the offensive line was horrible last season. We also know that Brennan Carroll was the offensive line coach under his father, Pete Carroll, and from everything we've heard, he was not good at coaching the offensive line. Ted Wynn wrote a story at The Athletic about the coaching staff having to implement a blocking scheme that they were not familiar with because there was a disjointedness between Pete Carroll and the offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly. So how much did coaching matter? Is coaching what made this offensive line so bad? Or is it personnel and they just genuinely have a bad offensive line regardless of coaching? What was it both? Was the coaching and the personnel bad? Or was just one of them truly awful? Because however the front office views that is what's going to determine how much they spend or how much draft capital they use on that position, because it's obviously very, very important to put a good offensive line out there in front of Fernando Mendoza. So is Rick Dennison going to be the coach that comes in and makes the current players better, or have they already decided, we're not trying to make the current players better, we're trying to get players better than the current players? Curious to see how they actually handle that. Also, Max Crosby is now a part owner of Leeds United. That is a team in the Premier League over in England. Their first game since he was announced as a part owner, they blew a 1-0 lead against Aston Villa by giving up a goal in the last 10 minutes to draw 1-1. Aston Villa's third in the Premier League, so that's a draw is good against Aston Villa. It's actually one of the lose-lose scenarios in soccer that's funny, is when you have the underdog team leading by a goal, the favorite scores a late goal to tie it, and then nobody's happy because the underdog is like, we were 5 minutes away from winning this game, and the favorite team is like, Jesus, we only got a tie. We needed to win that game. It's great. I'm also fascinated. What does it mean for his Raiders' future? Crosby bought part of Leeds United. Does it mean he wants part of the Raiders? Does it mean he wants out? Is he going to go play in England? Nobody knows. Also in the NFL, the Cowboys signed Javonte Williams to a new contract, a 3-year deal worth $24 million. Only $16 million of that is reportedly guaranteed. And we'll see what happens a lot with these contracts. They get reported. It's 3 years, $24 million, right? And then it turns out, it's only $16 million guaranteed, which means it's like 2 years and $16 million. And that third year is just there for the hell of it. But then there's also the $8 million of that $16 million doesn't become guaranteed until next year when he's on the roster. So it might not even be $16 million guaranteed. We'll see. But Javonte Williams, 3 for 24 and $16 million potentially guaranteed. This is a very good example as to why drafting a running back early in the first round is such a bad idea. Javonte Williams last year had 1,200 rushing yards. Ashton Jeanty had 975. Jeanty had more carries as well, right? Williams just signed a big extension for a running back, right? We'll see how much Kenneth Walker gets, but this might be the biggest or second biggest contract any running back signs in free agency. And he's still going to make less money over the next 3 years compared to Ashton Jeanty, right? If Williams plays this out, he's going to get that $24 million, where Jeanty is under contract for the next 3 years at $28 million. I'd still probably tell you Javonte Williams is overpaid too, and he's still going to make less than Ashton Jeanty. But the point here, it's not that Javonte Williams is better than Ashton Jeanty. I think Jeanty's probably going to be better than Javonte Williams if you put them in similar circumstances. But that's the key. They're not in similar circumstances because the Cowboys' offense was better than the Raiders. So Javonte Williams produced way more than Ashton Jeanty because the running back position is so dependent upon teammates to be good that having a good running back often doesn't matter. And you can find a running back in free agency. Javonte Williams was signed last year at 1 year for $3 million. You can find running backs like that produce more than a running back you take inside the top 10. You can find running backs later in the draft that can produce as much. My favorite one, Ashton Jeanty versus Kyle Monangai, a 7th-round pick for the Bears. Jeanty had 97 more carries than Kyle Monangai did last year. Jeanty only had 190 more rushing yards than Kyle Monangai, a 7th-round pick who was the number 2 back in Chicago. But why did that happen? Because the Bears' offense is significantly better than what the Raiders put out last year. Because again, the running back position is so dependent upon the guys around you to have any chance of success. Is Jeanty better than Javonte Williams and Kyle Monangai? Yeah, I think he is. Is Jeanty going to outproduce those two this year? Probably not. I mean, how much better does the offensive line get in 1 year? But there's a real good chance that Kyle Monangai and Javonte Williams have more productive seasons than Ashton Jeanty just because they're on better offenses. Last thing in Bischoff's briefs, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson will throw at the combine, according to Tom Pelissero. Fernando Mendoza will not throw at the NFL Combine. Simpson's interesting because he's the presumed number 2 quarterback in this draft class, and he has the chance to get taken in the first round, but it's still a chance. It's kind of like Jackson Dart last year. There was a chance, but nobody actually thought it would happen, and then he did get taken at the towards the end of the first round. So does Ty Simpson impress enough in something like the Combine to start moving up those draft boards? It looks like a very, very bad draft class for quarterbacks. Mendoza's going to go number 1, and then there's kind of nothing else. Maybe Ty Simpson. I'll say this. I thought through the first 6-7 weeks of the college football season, I thought Ty Simpson was the best quarterback in college football. He was very, very good. Even when Alabama lost that game to Florida State to open the year, a terrible loss, Simpson was good in that game. And then the second half of the year, Simpson was terrible. Like, he just fell off the face of the earth. So there was, small sample size, but there was some really good Ty Simpson play at Alabama. We just didn't see it for the entire year. Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Make sure you host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. You can book the party package, and you'll get a private party room, a party host, pizza, soda, arcade tokens, and laser tag. Plus, you can add on a game for adults or just book it for your own birthday if you want. It's Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Your next stop for fun in Vegas. All right, so an update for you. My microphone is back. It is fixed. Good job. My keyboard on my computer is also fixed. Got that replaced. So all of my equipment works, which is very, very good. However, I will not have a show tomorrow. On Tuesday, there's no show. Not because any of my equipment is broken, but because I am helping my sister move. My sister is moving from Iowa to Hawaii. Her wife is in the Army, and she's getting stationed, or whatever it is, in Hawaii, right? So they're moving from Iowa to Hawaii. They have 3 dogs and 2 cats. They are leaving the cats with my dad, who lives here in Las Vegas, which is very funny because my dad doesn't like cats, but they're taking the dogs with them. And they drove to Vegas, dropped the cats off, stayed a day or 2 here, and then are driving to LA. I have to go with them because they are shipping one of their vehicles from California to Hawaii. And then they got to go get on a plane. But the problem is, again, they're taking 3 dogs with them. So they didn't want to. I don't even know how easy it is to have to like Uber from the truck shipping place to the hotel, and then the hotel to the airport with 3 dogs. So I'm driving with them literally just so that they have somebody to drive them and their dogs around Los Angeles before they finally get on a plane and leave. So I don't have a show tomorrow. You can blame my sister for that, for marrying into the Army. That's probably where the blame should go. But UNLV beat Air Force, not the Army, on Saturday and blew them out 91-66. What's funny is this was only a 3-point game at halftime. It was 34-31. And then Air Force, by the way, had a 5-point lead. They had scored the first 5 points of the game. They led for 7 minutes of the first 20. And then UNLV's second half was just, damn near perfect. They scored 57 points in the second half. They were at 1.8 points per possession. Right, that's a wild number. Like 1.45 is the most UNLV's like ever had in a single game. 1.8 for a whole half is ridiculous. In the second half alone, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn and Kamani Hamilton combined to shoot 15 of 16 from the floor. The 2 best players for UNLV missed 1 shot while attempting 16 in the first half. Now, Air Force is terrible. They're 0-16 in Mountain West play. They went 1-17 last year in Mountain West play. Being close at half was pretty bad, but the second half was an annihilation. I don't really think it means much other than UNLV avoided what would have been another just disaster loss. But Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn and Josh Pastner did one of the funniest things I've seen. So Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn had 2 points in the first half. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is the leading scorer in the Mountain West. 2 points in the first half is not good. But Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn did get over 20 points, which means he's now scored over 20 points in 7 straight games. Scored 19 in the second half. It's exactly 21. So Pastner, though, kept Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn in the game a little late for a blowout, and he might have done it specifically so that he could get to 20 points. So 2 minutes and 21 seconds left in this game. There's a foul. UNLV is up by 21 points. Could have subbed Dre Gibbs Lawhorn and some other guys out at 221. Air Force subbed some guys out at that point, but not UNLV. Pastner left him in, doesn't sub because maybe Dre Gibbs Lawhorn was sitting on 18 points. He did not have 20. And the next offensive possession, Dre Gibbs Lawhorn shoots a three, makes the three to get him over 20 points, and Pastner immediately calls timeout and subs him out. Did he leave him in to chase 20 points? Chasing the number one scorer in the Mountain West, that little individual accolade? Maybe. And here's the thing. I'm in. I think they should be doing this. UNLV is not playing for an NCAA tournament spot, right? They're playing for some Mountain West seeding that could have some impact, right, as far as the Mountain West tournament goes. But it's seeding, right? What are you playing for right now? Yeah, Dre Gibbs Lawhorn to get his points, right? Like, why not? Especially like in a blowout game, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you beat Air Force by 21 or 15 or 25, right? Again, none of your metrics really matter this season. So leave him in the game. See if he can get over 20 points. And here's the thing. He is leading the Mountain West in scoring, right? For the entire season, he's at 19.9 points per game. Just in Mountain West play, it's 22.3. So I am on board with pushing for Dre Gibbs Lawhorn to get his points and win this Mountain West scoring title. 3-point game with a minute to go, play to win the game. But 10-point game with 40 seconds to go, let Dre Gibbs Lawhorn get a couple of shots up before the clock runs out, whether you're winning or losing. Now, this game, one of the things that stuck out to me was the UNLV just won the game with one-on-one matchups, right? Like, this is probably the most the entire season where they've just sort of tried to attack one-on-one matchups with good spacing, right? Because everything was a mismatch. Just let guys go one-on-one. Kamani Hamilton, he actually struggled early. A big reason why UNLV was almost losing at halftime. He was 2 of 8 at one point, but he ends up with 27 points and was 11 of 19 from the floor for the game. So he was excellent there. I think that means he was 9 of 11 to end the game there shooting, right? He didn't miss a shot in the second half. Howie Fleming scored some one-on-one baskets by driving into the paint. We haven't seen Howie Fleming do that very much. He also had a triple-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, which is pretty incredible. Tyron Jones did a little bit in the first half. He got sick. We'll get to that in just a second. And then obviously Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. But we saw a few different guys winning some one-on-one matchups. And it's just a case of like, Air Force isn't very good. If we just give you guys the opportunity to go one-on-one, you're probably going to score. And it worked. They had like their best offensive half of the entire season. One thing that I don't understand from Pastner, though, Josh Pastner, after the previous 2 games, complained about their slow starts. The UNLV was getting off to bad starts, which meant there had to be these big comebacks, right? And UNLV has 3 good players. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, Kamani Hamilton, and Tyron Jones. That's the top 3. Everybody else is in a tier below, or more than one tier below. But Pastner's been complaining that his team gets off to these slow starts, and in both of those games, he didn't start Tyron Jones. Then he complains about it, and then when they play Air Force, he doesn't start Tyron Jones again. And UNLV gives up the first 5 points of the game, and 90 seconds in, they're down 5-0. And Josh Pastner sends Tyron Jones and Howie Fleming to sub into the game after 90 seconds, right? I don't understand why Tyron Jones isn't starting. Like, Pastner isn't happy about the way the game started. And he's constantly making subs within the first couple of minutes. Just start your best players, right? Like, just start. Like, Tyron Jones is still playing starter minutes. It's just, if you're going to be upset about the first couple of minutes of the game, at least put your best players out there to give yourself the best chance to win those first couple of minutes as opposed to lose them. Now, on Tyron Jones, and maybe this is a reason specifically why he didn't start against Air Force, not the other 2, but Tyron Jones threw up. During the game, the announcers mentioned altitude sickness, and then we saw on the broadcast a bunch of mops and towels out there cleaning up. So Tyron Jones threw up. And then we saw him sitting at halftime, like in the tunnel that they go down to the locker room, sitting with an oxygen mask on. He had the blood pressure arm strap thing, the little, EKG, I think it is, that goes on your finger. No, not EKG. That's the wrong phrase. But like, he's sitting there getting medical attention, oxygen mask, all of that. He doesn't play in the second half, right? He was probably the best player in the first half, by the way. He was 5 of 5 from the floor for 12 points. Great matchup for him to attack all those one-on-one matchups. Maybe they knew Tyron Jones wasn't feeling well already, and that's why they didn't start him. But then He still subbed him in after 90 seconds, and he probably would have played 30-plus minutes had he been healthy for the second half there. So we'll see what Tyron Jones is like. Again, the announcer said altitude sickness. Whether that was exactly it or not playing in Colorado will help out quite a bit when UNLV doesn't play against Air Force. Also, I think interesting from this game, Emmanuel Steffen's almost out of the rotation. He did end up playing double-digit minutes against Air Force, which is a decent amount. But the previous 2 games, he played 6 and 7 minutes. He only played double-digit minutes in this game because 1, Jacob Benarby got into some foul trouble early on, and 2, Tyron Jones wasn't around for UNLV to really play their small ball lineup without a center. Pastor gives Steffen a chance every game, but I don't think he really wants to play him because every game it seems like he's subbing him out after a couple of possessions and only then plays him when he kind of has to, right? People get in foul trouble or whatever. So, and to be honest, I get it because, like, if you watch this team, what's Steffen good at? Like, he's 7 foot tall, but he's not really a good defender. He's not blocking a lot of shots. He doesn't give you much offensively. It's not like you're throwing it into the post and letting him go to work. It's not like he's a great pick and roll big guy. He doesn't shoot threes. He shot 1 and Josh Pastner yelled at him. There's a little bit of offensive. His offensive rebounding numbers are not terrible. They're above average. So there's a little bit of offensive rebounding, but he doesn't give you any reason to play him, if that makes sense, right? He's going to play because UNLV doesn't have a very deep roster because of injuries and all of that, and they only have 2 centers. It's either one of these 2 centers, and Jacob Benarby's not that good either. He's been better than Steffen, but like he's going to play, but he doesn't really give you a big reason to actually play him. Also from this game, Josh Pastner won a challenge on goaltending, and it's one of the weirder ones I've seen. First off, we had 15 minutes left in the first half, so I hate that challenge already, but they called offensive goaltending on Tyron Jones because there was a shot and he hits the ball while it's still on the rim. But there was simultaneous goaltending because somebody from Air Force hit the rim while Tyron Jones was smacking the ball. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen simultaneous goaltending. And the result was no basket, but UNLV got to keep the ball. So Pastner technically won the challenge, but UNLV didn't get points out of it. They just got to inbound the basketball. I wouldn't have challenged that 15 minutes into the game, or 5 minutes into the game, but they won it, but they didn't really gain a whole lot out of it. They gained a possession, but they didn't really gain a whole lot out of it because they didn't even get the points for it. I also forgot to mention last week, UNLV played Colorado State, and Ali Farouk-Manesh is their head coach. He pulled off an excellent move. He was looking late in that game to challenge a play that went out of bounds. And so he's looking back at his bench to the guys who have the iPads that are trying to figure out if they should challenge it or not. And they couldn't figure out if they should or not. So Colorado State sent a substitute up to the table to sub in, and then acted confused like they didn't know who they wanted to sub in and sub out of the game, which bought them like 30 more seconds to look at this and try to decide if they wanted to challenge or not. They did challenge. They end up winning the challenge, getting the ball back. So great gamesmanship by Ali Farouk-Manesh. That's how you should be doing your challenges. 2 more things for you on UNLV and Air Force. First off, Joe Scott, the head coach at Air Force, is officially not the head coach anymore. He and Air Force mutually agreed to part ways. He'd been suspended since last month. They're investigating him for treatment of players. I'm guessing now that he's mutually agreed to part ways, we're not going to hear anything else about this. But this team lost their head coach. They're 0-16 in the Mountain West. Their 16 losses, only one of them have been by single digits, and it was to San Jose State. I mean, this is brutal. This is like, it feels like as bad of a Mountain West team as I can remember seeing. And I know there were some really terrible San Jose State teams in the past, but this one seems like about as bad as it could actually be, especially now that you're losing your coach and you're just sort of playing out these last, 4 games left? Just a nightmare. Last thing for you. Did you know next year, this UNLV Air Force game would be behind a paywall? UNLV and Air Force was not televised. It was on the Mountain West Network. And next year, the Mountain West Network is going to be a subscription service. Are you paying for that game? a 500 UNLV team with no chance at the NCAA tournament against Air Force, who has not won a Mountain West tournament game. This is the brutal part of the subscription service for Mountain West fans. The people that are diehard fans are the ones they're going to have to pay. That's who they're banking on paying for this. Someone who's listening to me talk about UNLV beat Air Force by 25 points, you're going to be the one that they're going to take the money from, because we can all guess not many people watch this game, right? And it was already free. Not many people watch it. So the Mountain West is basically saying, all right, this is the type of game that's going to be on the Mountain West Network. We know we'll lose some people who might have tuned in if it was free, but we know most of the people watching are diehard UNLV or Air Force fans, and they probably will pay us a monthly fee to make sure they can watch every single UNLV game. And that's going to be brutal. The Mountain West is hoping that half of you, 75% of you, are going to pay some money to watch this game. And they'll lose some fans that were watching it, but they're going to say, oh, we got the money back. And so the diehard fans are the ones that have to pay for it. It's a disaster. All right. That is it for Technically Correct. I am Tyler Bischoff. I will see you on Wednesday.